Good morning. Welcome. Good morning. What a beautiful autumn day to be together. Welcome to the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport. I'm Jessica Brown, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. If you are visiting us here at FRS today or joining us for the first time, a special welcome to you. Those online can find the morning's order of service via a link just below the live stream window. FRS is a spiritual community overflowing with ways to get involved and to get to know people. Please take a moment to look through your order of service, to see activities for the week, and be sure to sign up for our weekly Steeple newsletter if you haven't done so already. Registration for FRS Chalice Circles is now open. Chalice Circles provide an opportunity for spiritual growth while developing deep connections with a small group of other FRS members and friends. Participation in a Chalice Circle is a wonderful opportunity for newcomers. Now in its 9th year, the Chalice Circle program has become an important part of the shared ministry of our congregation as participants explore thought-provoking topics of spiritual relevance through reflection, deep listening, and sharing. Circles are facilitated by trained leaders and will meet twice monthly, either here at FRS or via Zoom, from late October through May. For more information and to register, there's information in your order of service, also in the Steeple Weekly, paper copies downstairs in the lower meeting house, or you can contact Julie Parker Amory, our Director of Faith Formation and Spiritual Exploration. We gather each Sunday committed to love, peace, and justice. Our mission and our invitation today and every Sunday is come as you are. Journey together in love, act with courage, and transform our world. Thank you. It is good to be together.
On this day before Indigenous Peoples Day, well, I believe as we speak, there is a celebration happening at the waterfront. We acknowledge that we are sitting and standing and located on land traditionally occupied by the Kawasak Band of the Pennacook Abenaki people. Pennacook, also called Merrimack, means bottom of the hill. We acknowledge these people were horrifically colonized, stripped of their lives, their dignity, and of the land that they loved and stewarded. More importantly, or equally importantly, I should say, we also acknowledge that they are still here, living with us and among us, offering their many gifts to the community in many and diverse ways. We say, let the spirit, and therefore the heart of this land, is your land, Kawasak Band of the Pennacook Abenaki people. We look forward to having our Indigenous partners come throughout this year and to speak here most upcoming in November, and we remain committed to strengthening those relationships. Our call to worship this morning are words of Emily Dickinson as we begin to explore and reflect and be mindful this month's theme on words, language. And she wrote in a short poem, "A word is dead. A word is dead," she said, "when it is said. Some say. I say it is just beginning to live that day. You are faithfully called to worship." Let's rise in body or in spirit and join in our opening hymn, number 34 in the gray hymnal, "Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire."
We're members of the Congregational Insight Team, and we're here to light the chalice. The words are in your order of service. Please join us as we say that. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace that represent just 2 places on earth that need peace. We know that there are countless numbers of places on earth that need peace. And in remembering these 2 particular places, may our hearts and our minds open to all the places that need this peace. After I share each of them, I invite you to respond by saying peace in 3 languages: peace, sol, shalom. This morning, our first candle is lit for Israel and Gaza Strip, where war has been inflamed once again. May there be some hope of a peaceful resolution to this longest standing of conflicts. And to this we respond, peace, sol, shalom. Our second candle this morning is lit for Western Afghanistan, where earthquakes have killed hundreds of people yesterday. We pray for the villages and the families impacted by these losses, and for all of those near and far who awake to this loss and live through all that it brings up within themselves. To this we respond, peace, sol, shalom. Please rise in body or spirit again. Let's join together in our affirmation of faith and doxology. The words are printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve all, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Please be seated. And I'd like to invite forward all of our children and youth who are here with us this morning.
Hi everyone, is this a good volume? Can everybody hear me? Awesome. So, hi everyone. Remember last week in Young Church when we talked about a little bit about Banned Book Speak? For those of you who were here? Yes? No? Okay. Well, we're talking a little bit more about that today. I'm studying to be a librarian in college, and last week I was given an assignment to research Banned Books Week and write an essay about it. So I wanted to share a little bit of what I learned with you. Banned Books Week was founded in 1982 by an American librarian and intellectual freedom activist named Judith Krug, and she founded it in response to a surge of book bans throughout the country. So what does intellectual freedom activist mean? It basically means that she was fighting for the right for people to form their own ideas and opinions. And we talked a little bit about this last week, how banning books is a way to keep people from forming their own ideas and opinions. So Judith Krug dedicated her life to opposing book bans and defending intellectual freedom. She worked at the American Library Association as the director of the Office for Intellectual Freedom from its founding in 1967 until her death in 2009. And she was in her 20s when she started working there, so pretty much her whole life. She also helped establish the Freedom to Read Foundation in 1969, which protects and defends the First Amendment to the Constitution and supports the right of libraries to collect information and the right of individuals to access said information. Her memory lives on through the continued efforts of the American Library Association and the Freedom to Read Foundation, as well as the annual occurrence of Banned Books Week. Annual means yearly, by the way. The purpose of the event is to celebrate and promote free and open access to information, as well as to bring awareness to banned books throughout the nation. This year, Banned Books Week will be held, okay, I wrote this last week. This year, Banned Books Week was held from October 1st to October 7th, promoting the theme, Let Freedom Read. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the phrase, let freedom ring, from that song. My country 'tis a thee. Yeah, okay. Banned Books Week is as important as ever this year, as coordinated censorship efforts and book bans continue to increase rapidly across the country. PEN America recorded 3,362 instances of book bans during the 2022 to 2023 school year. This is an increase of 33% from the previous school year, and it's the highest number of book bans ever recorded in a year. Many of the popular targets for these coordinated attacks are books containing LGBTQ+ characters, characters of color, and diverse voices and stories. People are trying to ban these diverse stories because they don't want you to form your own ideas and opinions about them, and about things like gender and identity and race, which we all talk about in Young Church. The nation's climate surrounding book banning and censorship in 2023 is very reminiscent of the circumstances that led Judith Krug to create Banned Books Week more than 40 years ago. So we've been dealing with these same issues for a long time, right? Every year, Banned Books Week brings awareness to the continued issues of censorship in our country, and it presents an opportunity not only for people to support their local libraries, and celebrate the freedom to read, but to defend our right to intellectual freedom. As a way for us at FRS to celebrate Banned Books Week, we're challenging everyone to go out and find a banned book or another book that represents diverse characters and stories. And once you're done reading it, you should read it first. We would love if you would donate it to our little free diverse library outside Parish Hall. The Newburyport Public Library has their big fall book sale coming up, so that would be a great way to support both the library and our efforts here at FRS. Thank you. And now we're going to sing this song.
Thank you so much, August. And now we'll sing our children to Young Church.
In the beginning, was the word. Tango was the very first penguin in the zoo to have two daddies. I hate him. I hate him for being so brutal. I hate that I'm beholden to him. Human beings, not loud enough? Sorry. I could start from the beginning. Okay, sorry about that. In the beginning was the word. Tango was the very first penguin in the zoo to have two daddies. I hate him. I hate him for being so brutal. I hate that I'm beholden to him. Human beings can be awful cruel to one another. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. Some people are born in the mountains, while others are born by the sea. Some people are happy to live in the place they were born, while others must make a journey to reach the climate in which they can flourish and grow. And when day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we are brave enough to be it. I want to show people they don't have to be scared of being different. Have you any idea how much tyrants fear the people they oppress? Each night, without fail, she prayed for blue eyes. Can you not understand that liberty is worth more than just ribbons? Sometimes you can do everything right and things will still go wrong. The key is to never stop doing right. Nobody of the hundreds of people that had visited the fair knew that a gray spider had played the most important part of all. I go to seek a great perhaps. That's why I'm going. If you look hard enough, chaos turns into order the way letters turn into words. So, all of these phrases, as you may have guessed, are taken from banned books. The poem is Dangerous Words by Reverend Rebecca, and there's an insert in your order of service with the poem and the sources.
Our annual ministry theme is interconnectedness. This month's ministry theme is mindfulness. So you get to hear me twice this morning, and I'll do my best to stay within the time for each of the homilies on what might appear to be, at first glance, two very different topics: banned books and the future of our congregation. Stay tuned. For in fact, what we think, what we say, what we invest in, what we create is the power and the choices we have, and is creating the world that we believe in. Anybody who doesn't understand questions of gender, non-binary, gender fluid, should read this book. I get it now in a way I never have before. This is not the Atlantic. I placed the book down on our kitchen counter with those words. My husband picked it up and he said, "I want to read this book." And we have been reading banned books ever since, with a fervor and deep appreciation of their value. The book that made that possible is this book, entitled Gender Queer, a Memoir. This well-told, authentic, and revealing story of a young person's search from very young into their college years, their search to understand themselves and their gender is heartbreaking, inspiring, illuminating, and a gift beyond measure. As I said, it is not the Atlantic, and I turn to the Atlantic often. That teaches me important knowledge, facts, history, intellectual awareness. This helps me know a person. It has also, by the way, given me the experience and joy of reading a graphic memoir, which I'm old and I had not really been doing, but I will be doing it much more regularly because it was a lot of fun and also helped me understand in ways that words without those illustrations I don't believe could have done. Tango Makes Three, a true story of two male penguins in the Central Park Zoo and their caretaker, who saw their deep devotion to each other, was mindful, paid attention, and watched these two male penguins. Roy and Silo were their names, and they did everything together. They built nests because that's what the penguins around them were doing, and they put a rock in the nest because they didn't know how to make an egg, and they sat on it and they sat on it and nothing happened. And so their caretaker found an abandoned egg and put it on their nest. And they sat on it and they sat on it and they took turns until baby Tango was born. And she was greeted with cheers and love by adults and children alike who came to watch her grow, leave the nest, learn to swim. Tango, the first penguin in the zoo's history who had two daddies, just like all the other young penguins, was deeply loved by people and penguins alike. And this book is banned in many, many places. I'm currently reading Angie Thomas's The Hate You Give, a stellar piece of literature, truly remarkable, based on the true story of the 2009 killing of Oscar Grant in Oakland, California, though she doesn't say that. This story is written in the dialect of African American vernacular English. Authentic to the protagonist's neighborhood, African American English falls under the category of Ebonics, a term created by African American scholars in the 1970s as a way to combat the negative implications of terms used at that time, such as Black English. In essence, saying not what? Real? Valid? White English? Whether we realize it or not, we are all prone to have language bias. I know I do. This bias, combined with other exclusionary beliefs, results in the death of countless languages and people. Just one example, apropos for Indigenous Peoples Day, is the example of Indian boarding schools that stripped Indigenous children of their native language, forcing them to learn White English. Just one of so many examples around the world. Linguist Chi Lu says language bias interferes with people getting job interviews, renting an apartment, raising children to have different or better opinions, getting through an unexpected and fraught interaction with the police. Reading The Hate You Give has been an education for me not only into the lives of contemporary Black people living still in segregated neighborhoods, but also their language. It's a gift. It brings me back. I have clear and somatic memories of reading Huckleberry Finn, also a banned book, in middle school, struggling years ago to understand the dialect that Twain's Huckleberry Finn was using. Perhaps you have your own memories of a book you read where you had to slow down. You had to really think and pay attention and understand what was being written, as the words and language and dialect were different, though in English. Huckleberry Finn, as I said, was a banned book, the origins of which began in Concord, Massachusetts. The first, but certainly not the last, to ban that book. As August shared, the issue of censorship is about power. That's what we really need to understand. That's why it is a religious issue as well as an issue of justice and morality. Banning books seeks to ensure that people's experiences are not heard, known, or understood. And as I said, reading statistics and facts, even in very reputable news sources, watching things on TV, as horrible as they are, is not the same as reading people's words. So in other words, it keeps people invisible. Hispanic theologian Ada Maria Isaias Diaz says, "How more invisible than invisible can a person be? How more invisible than an already invisible person be? There is a quality of invisible invisibility. Invisible invisibility has to do with people not even knowing that they don't know you. Silencing people through banned books and otherwise, as I say, is a religious and a political issue. For Unitarian Universalists, it speaks to our first principle of furthering the worth and dignity of all people, our fifth principle of working to ensure and protect democracy, and the eighth principle, adopted by hundreds of congregations, that affirms our commitment to dismantling systems of oppression of any and all. Words, human rights, telling stories, freedoms of expression, a wide and diverse tent is who we strive to be. Working against banned books is a spiritual, religious, and moral act. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this: words are also actions, and actions are a kind of word. Ensuring words are written, spoken, and read is a religious act, especially when those words are written by marginalized people. There are many ways you can support this here. There are petitions and letters you'll find at our table out in the vestibule. There's our basket for donating banned books to our little free diverse library. And someone has this idea of creating a column in the newspaper, much like ACES does around environmental issues, entitled Counterban, where we simply highlight a book and an author each month, bringing awareness to the words that are banned in so many places, by the way, by some, the Washington Post said, as few as 11 people in our country. Mahatma Gandhi, and I'll close with this, spoke to the interconnectedness of religion and action when he said, "I could not live for a single second without my religion. Many of my political friends," he wrote, "despair of me because they say even my politics are derived from my religion." And they are right. My politics and all other activities of mine are derived from my religion. And so may our values and actions, may our values inform our actions until our values are indeed our vows. May it be so.
The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of the church, both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering that's not designated as a pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. The October shared collection goes to support the Greater Newbury Pet Fund, which serves Newburyport and many nearby communities, including, of course, Newbury. The fund works closely with councils on aging to identify elders in need, and then collects and distributes pet food and financial donations, with 100% of the donations going to the elders and their pets. I'm sure we can all imagine what it would feel like not to be able to keep a pet, a best friend, because you couldn't afford food or veterinary care. Please support our deserving senior neighbors and their loving pets. In a moment, the ushers will circulate through the aisles to receive your gifts. To give online, you can use the link in your order of service or below the live stream window, and of course, you can always mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Pastor. Each week we take time to lift up and share the joys and the sorrows of our beloved faith community. Nancy Kidd, our pastoral care associate this morning, will be lighting candles as I share what has been sent to me in advance. This morning we light a candle of joy as Mary Vale shares the joyous news that her daughter Maureen and son-in-law Mike, who live in Quincy, had their first child last week, September 27th at Brigham and Women's Hospital. And she writes, Theodore Anthony Burke is my first grandchild. My husband already is a grandfather with 5 grandchildren. And I have a new name, Mimi. I believe I'm saying that correctly. Maureen and Mike gave me a wonderful gift of being in the delivery room with them as we all welcomed Theodore. And what an amazing experience it is to see your child have a child of their own. Everyone is well but tired. We also light another candle of honor and of joy and of partnership. As I said, Indigenous Peoples Day is being celebrated, was to have been yesterday. Weather has moved it to today down on the waterfront. So if you have time at some point, come down. We light a candle of love and concern for Dorothy Fairweather, who's at MGH now with an broken and infected elbow from a seemingly innocent fall that ended up, as things sometimes do, into quite a lengthy and complicated situation. She'll be having her third surgery tomorrow, and I believe it's online. And so please hold her in your thoughts and in your prayers. We light one final candle, as we do each Sunday, for all the joys, all the sorrows, all the concerns that, although unspoken, are held in just as much love and care. I invite us now into a period of silence, meditation, centering, bringing to our mind and our heart our own personal worries, our own joys, things, people, experiences, earth, animals, for which we are filled with gratitude. And so as we learn to listen to the call of our own hearts and minds, so may we turn that presence, that listening, that caring to everyone and every creature that we meet. Amen. working on issues such as banned books, climate change, sensible gun laws, and so many other things, are all about using our power, our influence, and our commitment to our religious values to good use, to do our part in helping create the world we believe in today and in the future, with no absolute promise of outcome, but knowing that in so doing, we are stronger for it, we are more joy-filled, we are more authentic. We are turning our words into actions, and our actions are our words. On to other interconnected things. Have you heard the great and good and in some ways sudden but long awaited for news that the Mazzari family has secured rental housing here in Newburyport? Go out of order on my words for a moment because I want to speak to that and then come back to the rest. Who would have believed that this housing for our Afghan guests that came for 2 or 3 weeks 20 months ago, but who's counting, would be secured in Newburyport for at least the next 2 or 4 years or longer, whatever is right for them, what they choose. If those of us who've been the most closely involved were told once, I can only, I guess, speak for myself. If I was told once, I was told 1,000 times, it simply isn't possible. Not in Newburyport. It was so big, so impossible. Thank you, God, I didn't even try to figure it out. I didn't. I knew it was beyond me. It didn't mean I didn't show up. It didn't mean I didn't do everything I could. It didn't mean I didn't ask for help. It didn't mean I collaborated. It didn't mean that I didn't look for opportunities or listen to you or do what I could. But when I laid my head on the pillow every single night, it was bigger than me, and I knew it. I didn't know where they'd end up. I had no idea. It taught me to be kind, patient, imperfect, humble. Remember what it means to get on my knees. Patient when people would say, "Have you thought about?" And I'd say, "Oh, what a good idea." And then one day, and this is how life happens, for the good and the hard. So this is not only a story of all good things. One day, the email came, just like the email that asked if we'd be willing to house a family for 2 or 3 weeks. The email came from David Hall, who said, "You know, I know you asked me 18 months ago if I had anything, and I didn't. There's a place now, I wonder if you might be interested." And then, that was only about a month ago, things moved quickly. It is a UU miracle. And it isn't without its own complications, without its own challenges, most of all for our beloved friends, neighbors, and family right there, who 25 months ago were stripped and taken from their home with an hour's notice, even though they'd worked for a long time to find a way to safety. 25 months ago, because for 5 months, that family, along with many, many, many others, lived in a naval base in a tent, wondering, this family, our family, the family we have befriended, whose kids are on soccer teams and gymnastics and we can forget what it took to get here. 5 months on a military base in a tent where there was no schooling, broken bones, healthcare issues not addressed, no knowing of where home would be. So my flaw was that I, from only my own perspective, was beyond excited when this came through. The children wouldn't have to be out in a different school district. It would be affordable, which I'll speak to in a moment about how that's going to happen. All these good things, and didn't take into consideration in the way I needed to how it would land with the family. Not only bringing up their own past and trauma, but come on, that's a pretty amazing space. And I'll be honest, they're not renting something this big. That would be impossible. I'll even say that would be impossible. So we need to be patient and loving with ourselves, with each other. We need to allow ourselves to be changed by genuine relationship. Truly allow ourselves to become different people because of those we let into our hearts and lives. The finances, by the way, just will be this combination of David Hall reducing rent, the resettlement agency allowing necessary some renovations with lead abatement to happen, the family themselves making at least a third, if not more, of a contribution from his work as a mechanic and her work sewing, and then some contributions from those who are so inclined in the community and beyond. And together we'll find our way, because that's what we do. So that's what we do. We show up for ourselves and each other in times of transitions and joy. We show up for the community and the world beyond our doors. We show up because we have promised our commitment to issues of justice, to one another, including our youth and future generations, and to stewardship of these buildings, the land, the earth. We show up imperfectly, sometimes inconsistently, and even once in a while, and I hope you've experienced this. If you haven't, pay attention. Have you ever shown up for reasons that you don't even understand? Have you ever said yes when somebody asked you to do something here and you thought to yourself, what did I just say? I hope so, because sometimes those are the most life-changing things we say yes to. So, as we near our 300th anniversary in 2025, the calendar year, so a year less, basically a year from now, in a couple months, we'll be celebrating 300 years of the life of this congregation, not all in this building, and there are many stories to that, which you'll learn about. It's a time of important celebration and visibility, of memories, of love, of joy, of reconciliations, of naming our history and our past. And it's actually the beginning of the 4th century of this congregation. How is it we are the blessed ones that are here now, who get to employ our mindfulness, our vision, our commitment to what this church is becoming and will become? Not only for ourselves in the next few years and decades and our grandchildren, but people we couldn't even imagine who will be here. What community partnerships do we want to further develop? How else do we want to enjoy one another, care for one another, be there for one another? How else do we want to worship, care for our spiritual needs, welcome others into our spiritual home and church? Those questions and others are what we're asking you, I am asking you, to participate in this year. This is the time. Not that anything, trust me, strategic plans have a way of evolving. And there's a place for intention. There's a need to stop, pause while we live our lives and say, here's what I dream of. Here's what I believe in. This is what I see as possible for this church. This is the year to let your voice be a part of that conversation. Whether you've been here for generations, and I could look some of you in the eye as I know that's true, whether you've been here for your decades, raised your children here, bring grandchildren here, whether you walked in today for the first time, what if there are no coincidences in that? So in 2019 into 2020, 186 people participated in a process from which our values, mission, and ends were created. COVID happened in the middle of all of that, and still we voted, we affirmed, and we've made significant advancement on those goals. I want to remind us that the reason we could say yes to this family and to this work is because of the work you all voted on about what are our values, what is our mission, what is our vision. That's how much this matters. So the time has come now for us to get into more detail about, not necessarily revising all of that, though we'll review that, but more importantly is, so what programming, staff, facilities, including Parish Hall. I promised people who are organizing all this that I wouldn't make it all about Parish Hall, but I need to say this once, at least loud. We are going to be deciding together not only who we are becoming with our worship, our ministries, our programs, our caring for the building and all of that, our work in the community. How does that space further those things? This is the time for you to get involved and talk and share your dreams, so that it is a collective decision that is made. So the first step will be that there's going to be these beautiful people who came up to light the chalice are organizing these opportunities. First, October 29th, will be a service after worship with the Congregational Parish Board Relations team, where there'll be a review in case you weren't here and just need to refresh. So what happened in 2019 and 20? Get us all on the same page, if you will. Then there are 4 opportunities. I won't go through all the dates, but they're out there in the vestibule. 4 opportunities for 4 different workshops of the same, but Sunday afternoon, online, and 2 evenings, I believe, in October and November, where there'll be a 2-hour opportunity to come together and share your dreams. This matters. I'm asking you to invest 2 hours of your time to make sure your thoughts and vision and voice are heard. This is our church. Now is the time. So in a moment, we will join together after the service outside. I hope everyone can stay. And we'll be offering a blessing for the shared journey that we've had with our Mazzari neighbors, for the shared journey they have coming ahead, and we also have. It will be a prayer and a blessing because that's what matters the most to them. And that is what we'll honor. So go outside. Stephen Wolf is pointing over here, saying there's tables with punch, non-alcoholic punch. Sorry, or you're welcome. And we'll all have a blessing for the family. I want to close with the poem I wrote when I learned this news not long ago. I hung up the phone with David Hall and our board chair, Jim Supple, and on the phone, I think I was pretty composed, I don't know. And I hung it up and I lost it. I just sobbed, tears of joy and gratitude. Just pounds of weight came off my shoulders, things I didn't even know I was carrying, because you do, right? You do what we do. We all know this. We do what we have to do, whether it's in our personal lives, our work, like we just do, until we get a moment to let it lay down, until we get a moment to place it down. And so I said this. What do you do when a miracle occurs? What do you do other than say, thank you? What do you do when your life falls apart into the loving experience of the impossible, other than say, amen? So now, in the midst of before and after, May I remember when this moment occurred, in the infinity of the in-between, when life has answered a prayer. So may we go forward in peace and love and connection, knowing there's room for all. Amen. And please rise in body or spirit. We'll join together in our closing hymn, extinguish the chalice, and go outside. Closing hymn number 20, Be Thou My Vision. Let's join our voices in our unison benediction printed in your order of service as Jessica extinguishes the chalice. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. My friends, breathe in this spirit of love, this spirit of interconnectedness. May we go forward with the courage and the blessing to be mindful of all that life contains. When we make mistakes, may we say so, acknowledge it, do what we can and let it go. When there is joy, may we have courage to laugh, be blessed, hug one another. When there is pain and sorrow, may we be courageous enough to let another know, to let them in. For within us, between us, and among us and beyond, there is a love that holds us all. Go in peace, my friends. Return again in great joy. And I'll see you outside for the Fall Festival and a blessing.